Hi there, everybody. Karina Schmidt back with We the People podcast show, and I have our good friend Dr. Richard Pitz with me again today. Welcome back to the show. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Karina. Thanks for inviting me.
No, always my pleasure to have you here. Dr. Pitts, we had quite a day on Tuesday, Election Day. What does this mean for Charlotte County now? We have two new commissioners elected. What happened
Well,
Tuesday?
first of all, we can't sit around and we can't cry. There's a lot of things that have to be sorted out, all right? But, we have a county with a lot of people in it. It's got a lot of problems, and it's going to have a lot of bills, and we're going to have to face it. And if Mrs. Armstrong thinks that she's smart enough to accomplish all those vague kind of, she's going to deal with the traffic problem. I don't know what is she's going to be, a traffic cop? I have no idea. But she's only one of five people. All right. She has no experience. So there's two things we have to face. If she was indeed bought and paid for by outside interests, we'll soon enough find out what those interests are because, if
Oh,
she,
follow the money.
yeah,
Absolutely.
you have to,
Yeah.
okay. And if she gets up and sounds like an idiot, we'll see that too. So in the meantime, we have four other people, all right, three of whom are not going to be back, all right. Truex is not coming back. He's retiring. Um, um, Paseo is going to be running again. And the other guy, what's his name? Oh,
Truex,
God.
Truex is
What?
retiring, and Ken
And
Dougherty.
Dougherty.
Ken Dougherty is, I think,
Okay. Well, Dougherty is a nice guy, but he's a yes man. You know, he can't help himself. And uh, so we have to deal with what we have. Those are the cards that we're dealt with. And we have to. One thing about Deutsch, the fact that he lost, he's not going to go anywhere. I would stick him. I would have him out there, and I would have him as a weather vane for everything that goes on in the commission. Whatever they
there's
do,
some things
let
that I kind of want to talk about this for a little bit because you
yeah.
started out by mentioning the money, and I think we have an issue with what really happened because her campaign, Mrs. Amantry's campaign was so unprecedented. And I know she prides herself with how much she has raised. And she called her campaign, well, actually, she called her campaign politics is a blood sport and I intend to win. She did. But there's some odd things going on because it's not normal to raise that much money for just donations. Plus, we have a considerable amount of money in packs. Some sources told me that she had between that 530 something thousand dollars
Correct.
at her disposal. We don't know about other things that may not have come up yet. And the one thing that I find to be very questionable is why would she have out of state money coming into a local election? That's not normal. What happened here?
Well, you have to understand that there's a lot going on with Florida. We have 23 million people here. We have a decent amount of people in Congress. All right. We're going to need all the corporate captured economy where all these big corporations have their own lobbying groups. It's no longer individuals coming up. This is not Mr. Smith goes to Washington. This is multi-billion-dollar corporations looking for an advantage. Uh, we're finding out now that the people are complaining about not wanting their data centers in Florida, say, and that's a lot of crap. They want them, but they want the land at a cheap price. So when they get the people to say no, all right, the farmers and the planters uh, may look to run to the exits because we have greening for the citrus growers are not making any money. I mean, yes, the citrus crop was 8% bigger than last year, and that's fine. I would guess in 5 years they'll probably solve the greening issue and citrus will come back. But Florida land is very expensive, and what's happening is that if you start looking at the big players in Florida, Florida Power and Light, all right, and Duke Energy, they don't want the data centers in Florida because the Florida law says that they have to generate all the electricity that they use on the campus. And they can't sell any of it out because that's what they call behind the meter business. See, the Public Service Commission in Florida has given the electric supply companies carte blanche to basically control all of the energy laws. But that doesn't mean that they can't be changed. So I have a feeling that somewhere they're looking for every race that they can find to buck up what they want. I have no idea who's the players.
Do you think Kim Amantri has allowed herself to be bought by those special interest groups? Because
Well,
it
you
looks like
see,
she got a lot of money from special interest groups,
okay. Now
including.
let's start looking at the group that they have. You have Mike Grant, who's going to be the Speaker of the House. You got Danny Nix. Ben Albritton is leaving in November, and Mike Grant is going to be running for that office. All right. You have Vanessa Oliver. All right. That group, you multiply that by, we have 67 counties. I don't know how many offices that would be. Not every county has its own
Right.
representative and or senator, but it's enough people to be able to form a behind the scenes cabal. Now, if you take that and you start looking at, Evan Power, he looks like a poppin' fresh doughboy. He looks innocent enough, but he's the kind of guy, he runs a lobbying group. And, guys who get into politics when they're offered these $100,000 and $200,000 campaign pledges or $300,000 or $400,000, their eyes roll back in their heads.
And just
These,
for those who do not know who Evan Powers is, he's the president of the Republican Party of Florida.
yeah, he's the chairman. Okay, now
Chairman.
Joe Gruters is who I know is the head of the RPOF. His wife Sydney was just elected in Sarasota. So there is a certain amount of the good old boy network, and money goes where it's most appreciated, and they're not gonna spend their money on something that doesn't give them any return. Money goes to where it's most appreciated, and I can tell you right now, they put it to its highest use, and the highest use is, I will tell you right now, all these high interest rates that we face has to do with the demand for money. The demand for investment capital is so high. The server farms will return on investment 18 to 19% on your money. Unheard of in the business. Who wants to own anything when you can get 19% on your money every year? It's crazy.
Exactly. So the campaign that, to go back to the local level here,
Good.
the campaign that Amantri ran, um, she was definitely influenced by not just PACs, but special interest groups, and many of her donors were from businesses, doctors, lawyers, other elected officials, you name it. The list is long. It's generally not, and I looked at her donors, it's generally not the small mom and pop store or, private low to middle income donors. So naturally they're gonna want something back. What do you say?
Well, you have
Because
to
that's
remember,
going to impact her, the way she governs or the way she votes on the commission.
okay, we have a government, and everybody thinks that the government that we have figures out everything that they're going to do. All right, and they don't. They
No.
have advisory groups that they hire to give them advice. You know, Hector Flores is a very nice guy, very smart guy. He's the county manager,
City manager,
and
county manager.
yeah, and but he takes advice from these groups of people. But we've had 26,000 new houses being built with another, who knows how many, 35 or 40,000. This county was going to have 550,000 people when it's all built out. And I will tell you, if there's 10 millionaires other than the people we already have addition, I'll be surprised. I will be surprised. These houses look like Quonset huts. They're simple little, you know, you don't get much for $300,000 today.
Not anymore.
No.
Nope.
And when you start thinking about what they call the phantom cost of owning a house, buying a house is the cheapest thing. It's owning a house. It's the insurance, it's the water, it's the utilities, it's the repairs, it's the
So
police,
buying
the
a house
fire,
has
the
become
taxes. All right. So
it's
that's
become difficult though. And that might be by design.
yes. Oh yes.
I mean,
The
it's very
builders,
difficult for
the,
people to qualify for a mortgage anymore. They have completely killed that. So now
yes.
it's a selected group of people that will qualify.
Well, you have to remember, they said, we don't want to be in Naples. And I said, why not? I want to be surrounded with millionaires. They don't want millionaires. You know why? Because millionaires have power. Okay. They
Yeah.
know other millionaires. Millionaires hang out with millionaires. They don't hang out with a guy at the local bar having a cheap beer. That's not what they do. They don't want those people. They want a county filled with sheep who will just, go where they tell them to go and do what they're going to do. They want votes, and that's all they're interested in. Now, let's start talking about what's coming up. All right. If we vote for this 20-year referendum, now, going back to the election, Derek Rooney, who was a lawyer, who represents 5 counties, I do believe. I don't know if that's an accurate number, but he represents more than one county, including Charlotte County, uh, is promoting the 20-year deal. That will give a 20-year employment contract to all the people. They want to spend over $900 million on projects. You're not going to be here. I'm not going to be here. None of the people on the commission are going to be there, and we'll be stuck with these things, whether they return anything on the investment. Why the
Or the
county
next
wants
generation will be stuck with it. Yeah.
the county doesn't know how to run a private business. Why are they running the swimming pool down at the end of Harbor Boulevard?
So for those two that were just elected in District 2 and District 4, John Fleming and Kim Amantri, what do you think they are going to do in this respect?
Well, John Fleming is going to want to know where the money's going to go. He's going to winkle out of every one of these things a complete breakdown. And I will tell you right now, he knows how to ask the questions. This guy was a
He sure
detective,
does. He sure
okay?
does.
And I've spoken to him well enough. When we talk about scenarios, what happens when you deal with perpetrators. And I've known a whole bunch of these guys from
He's very
prosecute.
analytical, which is excellent
Well,
because he's
absolutely.
very analytical. He pays attention to detail. He will go in and ask for an explanation on anything that he has questions about whatsoever, almost like a doge. And I think that's what we need. Amantri, I am not so sure she's going to do that. She says
Well,
she's a numbers gal. I've heard her speak. I don't think she's going to do that, though. I think. Fleming is more likely to scrutinize everything that they do.
Well, you know, you have to understand when you listen to people, she says on her background that she was a, before she got into politics and school board, she was a volunteer for charities. That's
Okay,
fine.
yeah.
I think that's fine. At some point, you may not be able to do the legwork, go out and raise money, but at least you can speak up for certain charities. I don't know any, I don't know any charity who came forward and said, you know, when Kim was part of our charity, it was so good that, oh, you know, better than sliced bread. I don't hear that.
No, I haven't heard it either.
No. So you have to look at that as, you know, just verbiage. All right. He's on both sides of every issue. On one hand, this, and then maybe, and then on the other hand, it's this. Okay. When you get into government, she's going to have to make a decision and live by it or not. You see, the public, they're nice people. But if you go on next door, all right, where I go, as you well know, I never mention names. I never attack anybody. I certainly never answer anybody who gives me a hard time. That's their problem. They can deal with it. I only want to get the temperature in the room. If I get 5,000 views, which happens regularly on what I post, it tells me they're interested. If they don't make decent comments, if most of the comments are snide and, you know, dismissive and things like that, I tell them that these are people who are just looking for things to do. They have no intention of being part of the community. All right, they're not voters, certainly. One of the good things about this, and in my next door post, I'm going to write that I'm going to congratulate the voters because almost 30% of the people voted.
28.6, I believe it was
Okay.
in Charlotte
Oh,
County.
now if we go to Vanessa Oliver's race, all right, this is the sitting House member, okay, the father of the Speaker of the House, all right. Forget that she never came back and sent any letters or came to meetings or anything like. She took a raw, uninitiated, untrained neophyte,
They
and
took an inexperienced person and slapped a nice outfit on her and put her
but
in the
she
job.
got 30, she got
She's
almost
got,
40% of the vote.
yeah, but she can't speak.
I get that, but
Have you ever
you
heard her
understand.
speak?
Yes, do you
Yeah.
understand? But she got 40 with all those negatives. She
Because
got she got
let me tell you,
40%.
let me just put this in.
Yeah,
The reason why she got that much support was one, she has the family name that she ran on, and everybody knows who her father is. She ran on the family name, and she had the money to put out gobs of mailers, and certainly she inundated her
who's
district
it?
with
Who's that?
mailers. Miss Vanessa Oliver.
Oh yeah, and that yeah.
She
But
sent out a ton of
McCormick
mailers.
was a rank amateur,
You know,
and
her mailers came out from what
and
I
she's
saw. Her mailers came out from the same
yes,
consulting firm that
yes,
Kim Amantree hired. So they're all doing the same thing, and they look the same. If you look at
yes, yes,
Vanessa
yes, yes.
Oliver's and Kim Amantree's mailers, they're identical.
Just change the pictures, you get the same mailer.
Exactly. And then she ran, I wouldn't say that she ran as dirty a campaign as Kim Amantri did, but it's the same type of scenario we're dealing with. Lots and lots of
Look,
money.
these people are cynics. Okay, they're not willing to come before the people. They throw the stuff out there like pearls before the swine.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all they do. All right?
And they don't want to answer questions. They get very
No,
defensive. If you ask
they,
questions, they get very defensive.
oh yeah. Okay, and
Absolutely.
look, and I know Vanessa very, very well. She's a nice person to speak to. She's a mother of three children. What are you going to say that she's terrible? The kids seem to thrive. The husband is a lawyer, but he actually sent me a cease and desist letter when they try to run the jewelry salesman Rick, whatever the hell his name was, against Rob Hansick for the airport authority. That this guy, the jewelry salesman, would know a guy who's run more than one airport, 35 years doing this stuff, that he would be a worse pick than this some guy they picked up in the street. They should have called me. I would have run. I could have run a better bit, a better. And Rob Hansick's my friend.
And
See
he's
these
he's a
kinds of these.
very intelligent man too, very pleasant to
Okay,
speak with.
now let's get to the most immediate thing. The water the water condition is very important. We've had a 13-month drought, very severe. All right. The river was down very low, which means that the reservoirs cannot tap into the river. When the river flow goes below a certain level, it has to be you can't take the water into the reservoirs. Now this new reservoir is supposed to hold 9 billion gallons of water in 600 acres. Now, if you do the math, to put 9 billion gallons in a 600-acre reservoir, you would have to go down 47 meters, which, for the uninitiated, it's almost 150 feet.
Right.
This is an above ground reservoir. Now, an above ground reservoir does has a foundation, or that's to keep it from floating into the river, right? But to get that amount of water, the reservoir would have to be anywhere between 1,200 and 1,800 acres in surface. All right. Now, every day evaporation occurs. Evaporation takes place at any temperature. That's how you get freeze-dried food. They put your food in a vacuum chamber, and the water evaporates. Okay, even at below zero temperatures. So what happens every day? 68 acre feet. That's 68 acres, 1 foot deep, evaporates from the surface of the reservoir.
Of the reservoir.
Now they're talking about spending $500 million on this thing. I say it's going to cost $1,250,000,000 before it's all over. All right.
We need to come back to that discussion, go more in depth of that.
Well, the only reason I mention it is because it's ancillary to the election. See, you can't get to there unless you have the votes to get there. And
No.
this is what they.
And you know what an interesting thing is? I have not heard Vanessa Oliver speak about that. She was just reelected, and her opponent has more background knowledge of this. Unfortunately, she didn't win. Than Vanessa.
Yes, she's a nice lady. I've given her a little info on stuff that I know a lot about. I don't talk about things I don't know.
But it would be great
Because
if Vanessa Oliver would come out and talk more direct about this and more.
you're never going to see her.
She's
The
not
whole
going to
idea
do
is
that.
the whole idea is she won't take any questions. She doesn't want to take any questions, and she doesn't need to take any questions, because as long as only at maximum 30% people will vote in a highly contested election, can you imagine if everybody's happy? 20% will come out and vote.
Yeah.
So she'll just cruise on down the road until she's term limited. We're stuck with her for another
career politician.
Yeah.
Yeah, very true. And that's probably why we are in the predicament that we're in, because we have these career politicians that come in. They don't have to do a lot. And it's not what they do that really impacts us. It's what the people behind them do.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
it's not the poster child that has any power. They're in some respect, actually in many cases, they're like Pinocchios. They're being held by strings. and other
Yeah.
people are playing them. They're controlling them. All they are is the poster child. And I
Well,
think we're in a
yeah,
dangerous situation when you have the poster child that doesn't know enough about these matters themselves. But that would explain why they don't want to take any questions, of course.
yeah. Well, and the people above them, like Greg Stubbe, nice guy.
Yeah.
Uh, I remember when he first ran. I, uh, he's now well known in the Congress, and
Yes.
he doesn't want to ruffle anybody's feathers because he likes his job. Okay, I'm sure he's got delusions of grandeur, which most politicians do, and I don't blame them for it. I've never been a politician. That's not what I do, and I'm not interested in that. Uh, but some people like it. The air is rarefied, and they like that. So
Oh,
he's
yeah,
not going to go
they
out
have
and
a
go down there,
guarantee.
and
They
he's
got
not going to
guaranteed health care
criticize
for
that.
them.
Yeah, he's not going to. He's got his own fish to fry.
Yeah.
See, the the public eventually controls the access to government, but they're not smart enough to understand what they're supposed to do, and that's their biggest problem. Can
And
you imagine?
this is why we're doing these podcasts to educate
Yeah,
people because there's so
absolutely.
much
But
stuff.
can you imagine if 100% of all the eligible voters came out, whether it's Democratic or Republican,
Oh,
the
it would
total,
be, we would have a lot of people that
you would
would
have
be
people
thrown
crapping in
out
their
of
pants.
Congress and other
Oh,
offices.
oh boy,
But I tell you what,
Vanessa
I'm
Oliver would be
watching,
on the street corner every day waving a flag. Look
yeah,
at me, look at me.
look at
Okay,
me.
yeah.
But
So
one
that's
of the
what.
reasons I started this type of podcast is literally because I came across a man in his, I would say, low 30s. I'm not always the best at judging
Yeah,
people's age. Um, but we were talking about politics, and he didn't want to vote because everybody does the same thing anyways, and that's nothing. And he said it doesn't matter what office it is, they're all the same. And I said, well, the airport authority office is not quite the same as, for example, the commissioner office or, a public appraiser. And he said the airport authority, all they do is control the airplanes and make sure they land. And I'm like,
yeah,
no, the
yeah, no,
airport
yeah,
authority person is not exactly an airplane controller. We're not talking about pushing 10 like, the old movie that came out years ago with
yeah.
Billy Bob Thornton. Great movie, by the way. But that's not what they do. Not at
No.
all. So I thought it would be important to get information out there so maybe we can get people to understand what is the role of a say a commissioner or an airport authority and what happens in these elections like we're talking about today. You have elected officials that don't even know their job,
Yeah,
that
I don't
great
want I don't
example
want
is
the yeah,
Obamacare.
I don't want the
Obamacare
people
is
to agree with us.
disaster.
I want necessarily the people don't have to agree with us,
No,
but
not at
just
all.
come
I
come
actually invite
before
them
us
to
and
come to us.
give us your objection so we can have a dialogue, not an argument,
Absolutely.
because I don't argue with
Come on the
anybody. I get up
podcast.
and yeah, that they
Absolutely.
can.
Come on the podcast and make sure you like, subscribe, and share. Just real quick before we end here in 30 seconds we have left.
Yeah.
Um, we have a general election that's coming up in November. What do you think is the chances for the opponent to Ammontree?
I've met him. He's a young man. He has a beard and long hair. He's soft spoken. Um, you have to have visuals. You have to sound like a politician. You have to look like a politician. I don't know what politicians are supposed to look like, but I always like to think that they're fresh and shine shoes and things like that. And
Well, I want to invite people because we're about
yes,
to shut
oh,
off. I want to invite people to
absolutely.
come on
I
here.
yes,
Richard,
yes.
it's so much a pleasure again to have you on, and we look forward to having you back very soon again.
Well, what you're doing is the greatest thing, and it's a long time coming, and we need to do this
Thank you.
every day on a daily basis because
I'll
most
be happy to
people.
have you on. Thank you so
Yes,
much, Dr. Pitts. I will
thank you
reach out
very
to you
much.
very soon. Take care.
Right.
Have an amazing day and Good luck to
Thank you.
everybody out there running in the general election. Have a good
Thank
night.
you.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.